Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cartoon Boom. This is a show where we wake up with the Saturday morning sun, plop down on the floor with a big bowl of sugary cereal, and watch all your favorite cartoons, both old and new. I'm your bratty little brother, horrifically mutated to reflect my own inner darkness, Joseph.
And I have the power to terrify small children and stray dogs. My name's Chris.
And today, for the second episode of 2022's OCTOONBER celebration, we watched Skeleton Warriors.
It had a great theme song to it.
Yeah, it did. You can't say it without screaming it like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of an real monster thing. Even though it doesn't have an exclamation point in it, after you hear the theme song, you just can't go back.
It's almost on level with Saber Rider and the Star Sheriffs, because that one had a really good theme song too. And then there was another one that had a really good theme song too, but I don't remember.
I mean, SWAT Cats, of course, but less so about the words. Yeah. So who suggested this to us?
This was suggested to us by both Ben Grimm via Twitch and 80s Power Extreme via Patreon. So thank you both for this suggestion.
Yes, thank you both. Man, I thought I had seen this show before. I was wrong. I just knew of the show.
You had not seen this show before.
No, I thought I had.
You hadn't. You were wrong.
I was wrong. Yes, that's what I'm saying right now.
Yeah,
I was wrong.
I'm just making sure you know how wrong you are.
Yeah, I was. Had you seen it before?
No. I was aware of its existence because I think I had seen commercials for it, and I also think that maybe I had seen some of the toys back in the day.
Surely we did. Yeah, this was during our prime growing up years.
Yeah, I think so. I feel like we had to have seen those toys at some point for sure.
But so strange that neither of us had seen it for whatever reason. But anyway, the show Skeleton Warriors aired in 1994 only, created by Gary Goddard, produced by Landmark Entertainment Group and Graz Entertainment Inc., ran for one season, 13 episodes, originally on CBS in the USA, TCC in the UK, and Italia 1 in Italy for some reason.
Italia
1. For a short synopsis,
I like the sound of that.
Prince Lightstar leads the Legion of Light against Baron Dark, once a man, now an evil skeleton lord, and his army of skeletons. Dark's goal is to capture the crystal that powers the world, and Lightstar must stop him.
Oh, dang. Yeah. That doesn't explain enough of how ridiculous this show is, though, because this thing is so insane and over the top.
Yeah, but in the best kind of ways, I think.
In a super fun way. Yeah, for sure.
Who were some of the actors who played in this delightful show?
So the voice of Justin Steele, aka Prince Lightstar, was provided by Jeff Bennett, who we have talked about multiple times on the show. Quite a few of these voice actors we've talked about before, known for being main characters in shows like Gargoyles, Mighty Ducks, Johnny Bravo, Freakazoid, etc. Jennifer Steele, his sister, not wife, also known as Talon. I don't know, cue eagle noise there. Was voiced by Jennifer Hale, who is one of the most prolific, most sought after voice actors of our current time, possibly of all time. We've covered many of her shows, such as Mighty Ducks, War on Earth is Carmen Sandiego, Powerpuff Girls, Green Lantern, the animated series, Shaolin Showdown, Totally Spies, tons more, as well as she's huge in the video game sphere as well, taking huge main titles and stuff there. Joshua Steele, another brother, aka Grimskull, which I just want to call it Casey Jones' corpse is my nickname for Grimskull.
Basically.
That's what I thought of the whole time.
Zombie Casey, for sure.
Zombie Casey Jones, yeah. Even machines have to obey the law. He was voiced by Kevin Shawn, who was the voice of Timon and Pumbaa. He was one of the 3 Timons from that show, but he's the one that went on to keep voicing Timon with several other Disney titles. He's been voicing Timon now kind of ever since. Uncle Ursak, aka Guardian, and then also the character Dagger, both voiced by Danny Mann. And he popped up on our show in one of your favorite episodes. This was, he was the voice of Lack Mac from Rayman, the animated series.
Man, that's no one's favorite episode.
Yeah. Baron Dark was voiced by Philip L. Clark. Dr. Cyborn, voiced by Nathan Carlson. Shriek, voiced by Valerie Pappas. Oracula, voiced by Michael Corbett. This was weird. Oracula had like, I don't remember him having like any lines in what we watched. I think he just made lots of noises and grunts, which is interesting.
I don't know if he could talk, honestly.
Because Michael Corbett is like, I guess, a well-known like soap opera actor. So like this dude was in like, he was a star in like 3 different soap operas, Ryan's Hope, Search for Tomorrow, and Young and the Restless. Over 120 episodes of each of those. So one of them was like 200 something episodes. But all he did in this one was go like, ah!
Yeah. So it's almost like their direction was like, all right, just whenever you're sitting on the toilet, just record yourself and send it to us.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I do some of my voiceovers. I did one right before this voiceover
on the toilet.
Way. Yeah. I had to do like a lot of that kind of stuff. Had to get that gravel voice going. And then finally, the last one I've got here is the Golden Skull, which is basically the narrator. And that was voiced by Tony Jay, who was the voice of Shere Khan from Tailspin, Virgil from Mighty Max, which I absolutely love, and Lord Dreg from the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and also Megabyte from Reboot, if that voice sounded familiar.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, you could hear the Virgil and the Megabyte combination.
Yeah, for sure. He's got a really good voice. I really like him. He passed in I don't remember if it was the 90s or the early 2000s, but like his voice was so good.
Man, seriously. Yeah, like it's hard to explain how like a weird like CG looking skull could command so much presence, but his voice made it happen.
Like, I'm going to be honest, the 2 best voices in this entire show were the Golden Skull narrator and then Baron Dark.
Oh, Baron Dark was just having fun with it.
Yeah, I think everything else was kind of like, I'm like, I don't want to be rude, but like a lot of the other ones were kind of subpar, it felt. And I just felt like it was a direction thing because like we've heard them in other stuff before that was really good, which surprised me because I think Susan Blue, was the voice director, but a lot of the voice acting was like pretty, I don't know, just not, it didn't stand out.
Yeah, maybe it was just like single take kind of stuff because it didn't sound like there's a lot of revision going on.
No.
So for a few tasty marshmallows out of our big bowl of Skeleton Warrior cereal.
Oh, I bet those are crunchy.
Oh, so crunchy. This cartoon also spawned a toy line, like we were talking about earlier, created by Playmate Toys, a comic book limited series created by Marvel Comics, and the Skeleton Warriors video game for the Sega Saturn and PlayStation consoles developed by Neversoft and published by Playmates Interactive. I was reading a little bit about that. I haven't played it, but it didn't sound like it was too good, but it was kind of split on reviews. So who knows? The last one I have really, as far as trivia goes, is according to Skeleton Warriors presentation at Toy Fair 1994, the character's Shriek's working name was Banshee. So her name would have been Banshee, which also would have been a cool name, but I think Shriek works. Yeah.
That's not too far off from Banshee.
No, it's the same idea for sure. I'm wondering if they backed away from Banshee because of the X-Men tie-in, because I don't think Shriek had been created as a Marvel character yet. Maybe she had. I don't remember when Maximum Carnage came out.
I don't know. I'm not sure. And that makes me wonder too, because like the animation for this looked dead on like the 90s X-Men cartoon. Do you know if it was the same studio?
I'm not sure as far as animation studio goes, but I wouldn't doubt it. It looks very similar.
There is like a few characters that I'm like, if you took away their hair and their beards, that's Professor X. Like just straight up.
Didn't Jennifer Hale play Jean Grey also?
I don't remember if she played the original Jean Grey or not. I do know she played Jean Grey in other versions of X-Men for sure.
Okay, maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah,
because like there's an X-Men anime, and then there's Wolverine and the X-Men, and I think she's Jean Grey.
Wolverine and the X-Men was so good. That was, I think, my favorite X-Men cartoon, possibly.
She is Jean Grey in both of those. I believe,
cool. That's what I'm thinking of then. Yeah,
could be.
So let's go ahead and jump into the episode to watch for today's show. First one being Flesh and Bone, season 1, episode 1, where these are the longest descriptions. Every single one I found is just like a complete summary of the episode, basically. So I'm going to read like the first sentence of it, and we're just going to go with it. Frustrated by his brother King Justin, Prince Joshua Steele undertakes Baron Dark's task to steal the Lightstar crystal.
Okay, right off the bat, the name Joshua Steele, that evokes a real different sort of person.
I'm wondering if there's any relation to Max Steele anywhere down the line.
Yeah, I don't know. Like like Joshua Steele just reminds me of like, I don't know, like a teenager with a backwards cap on a skateboard.
You know what's funny is like I kind of wish that they hadn't given them nicknames. I think it would have been funny having a zombie named Josh.
Yeah, that would have been sweet. Like, but he still gets the deep voice. So they're like, "Oh no, it's Josh," and he's like, "Yeah, I'm Josh, and I'm here to reap your souls."
Yeah, I'm so emo now that I'm dead.
He did get super emo once he became a zombie, dude.
I mean, he was kind of emo before, but now he's just like, what got me laughing was how like mad he was at his brother for wanting to, I guess, avoid what he thought was avoid responsibility after he's the one who got them in that situation in the first place. It's like, Josh, this is your fault. All of this is your fault. You were swayed by the dark side.
Both of them are so mad. And that's the other thing. Justin sounds, who is the prince, he sounds angry all the time. Like every line he gets, he's just like, I don't know. He's like, I don't know how to help my people. Like, I can't find the butter from my toast. Oh, the knives are in the wrong place.
I'm just too handsome for my own good.
Yeah, he's like, hey, I'm trying to button up this new shirt. He just always sounds so mad.
Yeah. His defining character trait is that everyone's attracted to him. Every female character, even if she's royalty, is attracted to him.
Right. Did his hair color change from the first episode to the second episode?
I don't.
Was he blonde in the first one?
No, I thought it was. He had black hair in the first one, didn't he?
I didn't think so. I thought he was blonde, but I might be wrong. I don't know. I just remember like I started watching the second one and I'm like, wait a minute, something looks different. Did his hair color change? Hey, Justin, what did you do with your hair?
Maybe it was dyed already blonde. He just let his roots grow out.
He let it grow out.
Yeah.
Let the roots grow.
Because now he's serious. Now it's dark Justin time.
No, I'm serious all the time.
Yeah.
Because I can shoot lasers from my hands.
It's emo Justin time.
Yeah.
Okay, so it opens up with the golden space skull talking about the eternal struggle between light and dark. And that's a recurring theme we'll hear over and over again.
In everything.
Yeah, and it kind of opens up with like Josh and Justin arguing already. Josh is just like pulling the whole, you're not my dad thing. And then they're fighting with lightsabers.
Yeah, they have lightsabers.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Jessica comes in and tells, Justin to stop treating Joshua like a child, but Joshua proves how childish he is by like immediately going over and meeting this creepy dude named Baron Dark. It's these names where that's not even his nickname. His name is just Baron Dark. Yeah. So it's like, these guys are going to be evil immediately.
Yeah, I think you would kind of like, I don't know. It seems like it should be a tell.
Yeah.
Like, if you're just like, bro, I don't understand why you don't want me to spend time with Sergeant Kill Everyone.
Yeah.
Like, he seems like a good dude.
Well, I don't know what's wrong with Mr. Murder. Like, he's a nice guy. He's very hands-on individual.
I don't know.
But yeah, so Baron Dark, he basically taints him, but also like sways him in the easiest way possible by just in these really childish ways, by just being like, oh yeah, like your brother sucks, like you should be king and I can help you do that. All we got to do is take out the power source that powers this entire city for a few seconds. That's all. And then I can make you better than your brother or something. And he's like, okay, this sounds great. Let's do it.
That's a great idea. The Baron Dark.
Yeah. Nothing could possibly go wrong.
Never. So they go into the Lightstar chamber where the Lightstar crystal is. Alarms go off. Justin and Jessica, man, it's all these J names. They're like, oh, dang, that's bad. They get in there. And then as soon as Baron Dark's about to grab the crystal, that's when Josh is like, oh, man, this was probably real stupid. Like, this is a bad move on my part, I bet.
Immediate regret.
Baron Dark's like, nah, I'm totally going to do it. He grabs the crystal Justin gets there. They're fighting over it. It snaps in half. And that makes, for whatever reasons, like, I don't know, like whenever power typically goes out, like the power just goes out. Like none of your, I don't know, like appliances typically explode. But in this city, when the power source goes out, everything blows up.
So it immediately goes to like a post-apocalyptic landscape because the power goes out for a few seconds. And what the kicker is, so Justin has taken half of this crystal and Baron Dark's taken the other half, or they break it in half, but Josh tries to come and intervene at the last second, and he kind of gets hit by the middle of the blast. So Baron Dark taking the other half, like he immediately transforms into his like skeletal form. And Justin,
but don't gloss over the light tornadoes that form around the mall.
Oh yeah, there are light tornadoes. Justin doesn't transform because he's not full of darkness, and Joshua doesn't transform completely into a skeleton. He keeps his flesh, but he becomes a zombie man because he's basically like half dark, half light at this point. And plus, he got hit by the blast from the middle of the crystal exploding. Or like
Josh
parting.
Is total edgelord, basically.
Yeah, so now Josh basically becomes the dude from Mutant League. Like he's just a zombie looking guy.
He's Bones Justice now.
Kind of, yeah. And that's when they also find out the royal siblings that they now have powers. Well, a little bit later they find this out. So Justin can shoot beams from his hand. I'm not sure what else his power can do.
I mean, cool enough, I guess.
Yeah. Jessica can fly.
Why not?
And she has like supervision now. She basically has bird powers.
Because she has a pet bird.
Yeah, exactly.
So she has bird powers now.
Right. It makes perfect sense. And then Joshua has the power to scare small children and the elderly, according to him.
No, like, okay, he says that line when the others find out they have powers, and he gets so jealous, and he says, I have the power to terrify small children and stray dogs. And he says it because he's saying it sarcastically, being sad. Man, I can't tell you how hard I laughed when he said that line. I was in stitches. I had tears on my face. I don't know why. I think it's just the voice, the timing of it. Everything got me so hard. Oh God, I was laughing so hard at that one.
Yeah, that didn't get me that hard, but we come to find that there is more to his power than just scaring children and small dogs. He also is able to do like shadow walking, which is basically transporting between shadows, which is awesome. That's a really cool power.
Yeah. And man, I gotta give them credit. They use it really well in a couple episodes. Like there's one coming up that I was just like, whoa, the way they did this one is probably the coolest way they could have used it. And I was just like, this was cool. It was cool.
That was so cool.
It was so cool.
And then the Baron, we go back to him as he's going back to his henchmen. He's like, all right, you're all skeletons now. So one by one, he just pulls them in. He's like, all right, transform you. So he transforms Dr. Cyborn. Yeah, his power now is to corrupt, I guess, to tap into the darkness within others and change them into their true skeletal forms. Dr. Cyborn is just this like half cyborg scientist, basically, or creator that works for the Baron. He just becomes a cyborg skeleton. Then there's Shriek. Yep. She becomes a skeletal lady. And the coolest one though was Aracula, who is like, I mean, that's cool just because it's like mixed between Arachnid and Dracula. So it's like a spider vampire, and that's awesome. And he looked the best, but his voice sounded like Donald Duck. That's all I kept thinking every time he would make his little noises was Donald Duck.
And then there was Dagger.
Yeah, Dagger is the comic relief kind of. He's the stupid one, but also like just a short dude with a eye patch, and he is just becomes Skeleton Dagger basically. Yeah,
he's just the bumbling goofball henchman. But he was probably my favorite of the henchmen, though, not as far as design goes, but like I thought he was pretty fun.
Yeah, he was the comic relief for sure.
Yeah.
So, like you said, the city's falling apart. The siblings are arguing because Joshua's being a jerk. And this is where I was talking about, he's complaining to Justin about always wanting to be leader and how real responsibility terrifies him. He's just sour because his power, like he doesn't know what his powers are yet. And he's undead now and he's sad about it. And so he's taking it out on Josh.
And then while they're kind of like still, I think they were still kind of fighting and everything, the skeleton warrior dudes, they get on these well, that's what the bad guys are called. That I was kind of surprised with. I didn't realize that skeleton warriors were the name of the bad guys, even though that's the name of the show.
Yeah.
I was like, interesting.
It's pretty uncommon for the antagonist to take the lead name unless it's like a horror movie.
Right. But it sounds cooler. It sounds
definitely
cooler than like
Legion of Light.
Legion of Light, or, you know, like, I don't know, Avenging Siblings, like something like that.
Yeah.
So they have those like hover bikes, those air bikes. Those things just need better safety regulations. Like you could breathe on those and they explode.
Yeah,
They're
that
awful.
comes into play in later episodes too.
Yeah, they explode so easily. But the siblings are like, dang, like we need to we're gonna have to go find our uncle, who is the only like surviving member of their family aside from them, Ursak, who is like, I guess they kind of drop some hints that like he's seen as kind of crazy and he doesn't live like in the city, he's kind of on the outskirts. And maybe he wasn't like, maybe he was estranged from the rest of the family, because he even says something about like how his brother, which would have been their dad, was a fool or something.
Yeah, because like his brother, in his words, he was putting too much faith in the crystal of light, or whatever it is, crystal light.
Yeah.
Like powering the city.
Crystallite, yes.
When before, like it was powered differently and they didn't need to rely on it, but they became too reliant on it under the brother's lead. So he's always like scorned him for that.
Yeah, my brother drinking all that crystal light until he had nothing but diarrhea.
Exactly.
Yeah. So they get over there. He's like trying to help train them, like giving them weapons, gives everybody like skeleton themed armor, you know, to fit the theme of everything, which is cool.
And then he's like, all right, you're all getting nicknames too.
Yeah, it names everyone.
Justin is Prince Lightstar. Jennifer is Talon because she can fly, I guess. And she's like a bird. And then Joshua is Grimskull, which is a really cool name.
Yeah, I love it.
Because he moves within the shadows.
Oh, and I'm so grim and my face looks like a skull.
And then he even gives himself a nickname. He's like, he doesn't give it to himself. I guess Justin does, but they call him Guardian now.
Yeah, they're like, and you've been guarding us, so your new name is Guardian.
Oh, he's like, oh, that name kind of sucks, but I accept it. It's fine.
He's like, are you saying this because I'm your legal guardian? Is that why you're calling me? Shut up, Guardian.
You just read the documents of me adopting you as your legal guardian.
Right.
Is that where you're getting that? No.
Yes.
It's totally original.
Come, Uncle Guardian.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they have a big battle with all the skeleton warriors. And what I do love, though, is I love watching the bad guys explode. And this is kind of the genius of this show, because other shows, you can't show the bad guys like dying, getting hurt. Like there's always some sort of caveat around it, which is why, like, you know, we look at things like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Foot Clan all have to be robots.
Exactly. So Power Rangers, where the putties all just like are made out of putty, so they're not real. It can't be alive, basically. But in this case, they're undead, so it's like it doesn't count, and they can reform themselves, so it doesn't count.
Yeah, so they'll explode into a bunch of bones, and then they reform. Essentially meaning that all of the bad guys are immortal, which I was just like, now that makes it really interesting, because that essentially means that they can't be defeated, which is pretty cool. That honestly, I feel like was a smart move, and it honestly plays a pretty decent like overall arc for this series. But also, man, it is just so satisfying watching them explode.
Yeah, well, it's just cool to see, like, especially like a 90s action cartoon, getting to actually utilize the weapons that they have in their hands and not just like, you know, hit them with the blunt end of something. So they're like shooting like rockets at them. They're hitting them with ships. They're blowing them up in all these different ways. But it's fine because nothing's dying. They're just coming back to life, or they'll complain about it or something. That's it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's visually awesome.
One thing I do want to mention, though, because I'm gonna talk about this later. This first episode, super serious the whole way through. Like no funny parts. Everything's very serious, very dramatic.
Oh yeah.
So there you go.
Okay, yeah. That we get the Golden Skull closing out, telling us that they're fighting to restore a world that's out of balance, but can they? And that's where it leaves off. So we go into the next episode we watched for today's show, which was Heart and Soul, season 1, episode 3, which was the highest rated episode. In this one, the Steels fight off skeletons that raided a settlement, and Talon rescues the only survivor, Ferris. This one made me laugh a couple times, but not for reasons that it meant to.
Okay, can I ask you a question real quick before you continue on?
Yes.
Did anything about his name being Ferris and them, Jennifer, constantly wanting to save him, did that remind you of a certain ska band at all?
No.
Okay.
That didn't cross my mind.
I couldn't take it seriously because I kept thinking of the band Save Ferris like the whole time. I was just like, oh man, wouldn't that be funny though if all of a sudden you just heard some like Save Ferris in the background?
That would be pretty good. I mean, maybe they got inspiration from it. I don't know.
I don't know if Save Ferris was around yet.
Probably not yet, actually.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Maybe Save Ferris got it from Skeleton Warriors then.
They got it from Ferris Bueller.
Well, I know that, but I mean, maybe they just remembered that episode of Skeleton Warriors.
Could be.
Oh, okay. So in this one, it opens with the Golden Skull saying, like, how does one defeat an enemy that contains the ultimate weapon, invincibility, which is, like you said, a running theme through the show and really the true power of this enemy who aren't very smart or talented because they get blown up a lot, but it's fine because they're just going to come right back.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I wanted to mention, which is kind of interesting, especially in this, is like, so the royal family, or what's left of it, is essentially fighting a war against the skeleton warriors because like they're amassing an army because dude is just constantly raising more and more, like corrupting more and more people. So he has just this huge army of skeleton warriors at his disposal that can't die. And like basically like the royal crew they're losing the whole war. And I think it's just interesting that like every episode we watch, you kind of see the progression of it, that like, you know, how much they've lost. Like in this one, like the whole city that they originally started in, Baron Dark and all of his guys, like they've taken the whole thing. Like they've already won that battle. It's done. And I just think that that's pretty interesting. It definitely goes like Empire Rebels kind of route with this.
Yeah. The big difference being that this empire is able to continue growing its forces, even if the person isn't completely evil. And that's where Ferris comes in. So the idea is, so Ferris is saved. He's the only remaining member of this Gamma team that went out to the only remaining soldier. But he proclaims that he's not a soldier. Like he doesn't want to do this fight, and he doesn't want help. He just wants to leave like this whole war. And so in trying to do so Jennifer is trying to convince him that everything, like she's just kind of obsessed over him in this episode. I don't know if she's attracted to him or not, but it really seems like she is, because she will not like leave him alone and let him do his thing. Even though later on, like Grimskull, Josh is just constantly telling like, dude, just leave him alone. Like he's gone. It's fine.
Yeah.
Because what happens is he's trying to leave the battle after he and Jennifer are out there searching for something. And at that point, he just kind of like rides off with the bike that they rode in on. I thought that and then it immediately explodes. So I was like, did he just try to kill himself on this bike? Because that's what it looked like, is he just turned around, rode off into a tree and exploded.
Right.
I was like, man, this is dark. But I guess he's just super clumsy because he just kind of gets up and like stumbles around. He's like, oh, what just happened?
He's like, God dang.
Yeah, that's where the Baron finds and corrupts him and turns him into a skeleton warrior.
That's where I'm saying, like, these hover bikes are so flimsy. Yeah. He might have just hit a mosquito and like the whole thing exploded.
Yeah,
like he might not have even made it to the tree. He didn't even mean to crash.
He hit a falling leaf and that blew up the bike.
Just boof. Yeah. Because I mean, we see in that first episode at one point, like all they did was like they hit like, what was it? The hover bikes with a chain, just a chain, and those bikes exploded.
Yeah.
Like,
very fragile.
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense, but it's still fun.
There's also, we should point out, this device that Cyborn has created to help track the humans, because currently the only way they're able to track them is because of the connection Baron has with Joshua, and that doesn't always work depending on their proximity.
Right. Yeah. He's got like this connection with them in that, like, whenever they're close together, he can kind of get into Joshua's mind and sometimes temporarily turn him because he's so connected to the darkness and stuff. So it's dangerous for him to be around Baron Dark. But it also works to their advantage sometimes because whenever Baron Dark is getting close, Joshua can sense him coming. So it gives them a little bit of like a warning as to when he's going to attack, but only if he's there. If it's just Baron Dark's dudes, then he doesn't get the precog kind of ahead of time warning. So
yeah.
But yeah, Jennifer's got this obsession with just saving Ferris, even after he gets turned. And like, they've never seen any other character like come back from this, but she's sure she can save him. I can make him change.
Yeah.
She's just in love with this dude basically. And she's like, I can change him. So she tries. They even talk her out of it at one point. And then like the next scene, she is like sneaking into the city and like he's just chilling on a chair and she walks up to him and she's trying to she's like, I can help you. Come with me. And of course he just grabs her and he's like, yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah. Like it was a trap the whole time. So
yeah, it's like, duh, of course it was.
That also goes to show just how powerful that transformation is. Like if you have even just a little darkness in your heart, that completely makes it take over. And
right.
He turns from someone who doesn't want to be a part of the war at all to completely on Baron's side.
Yeah, I did kind of like, and I thought it was kind of funny that at one point it really does look like she's going to get away because everyone gets knocked down and she's just like, I'll come back for you. She starts flying away. Dude just grabs her ankle and like throws her back to the ground. I was like, dang. All right. Well, that'll work, I guess.
Her bird does get away, though. I think that's how
the bird does.
The others find out.
Well, yeah, Grim Skull or whatever knows what's up. He shadow melds, pops out over there, starts shooting his laser stick at them as a distraction. Well, and this was interesting. So Jennifer reaches into Ferris's, I mean, it's all bones. She reaches in and she sees like this jewel, like in his, like between his spine and his ribs. And she just yanks it. When she pulls it out of him, he turns human again. And then that jewel disintegrates. And like, it's like everything wore off of him. And he's like, oh, dang, where am I? What happened?
Yeah.
And that's where they're just like, oh, crap, we can cure these people? Huh, that changes an awful lot. Apparently, it's called a heart stone.
Right, because it is just like a pinkish red stone in their center. So if they take it out, and I don't know if they have to crush it or not, but I know that that's Justin's preferred way is to take it out and just crush it.
Yeah, it looked like that one disintegrated by itself after she pulled it out. Like it just went. So, but there's this one scene here that I thought was super awesome is when, she flies him out of there. Grimskull is like facing down. I don't remember who it was, but some dude with a cape. And Grimskull, because he can shadow walk, melds into his own shadow and then pops back out of the shadow formed by his opponent's cape and then blasts him. And I was like, oh my God, that was cool.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't have thought of that. That's such a sick way to use that move or that skill.
Yeah, he's gotten really used to using that shadow walking skill. And they are trying to when they first come in, or when Grimskull first teleports in and they're all fighting back, the Baron starts running at first. And then after a minute, he's like, wait, why am I running? Like, we're in our base. And so he tells everybody, he's like, why are any of us running? Just go stop them. And so that was pretty funny.
This is the whole reason I wanted to talk about how the first episode was super serious. And this episode, they kind of turned around on that and added some definite humor into it. I don't know the reasoning, but I think that maybe they would have realized that, like, if they tried to make it serious the whole time, I don't think this show was going to work. I really don't think it would have worked for sure. But adding some of the humor into it, because it's so over the top for premise, definitely made it enjoyable.
Yeah, maybe. I have some thoughts on that for later, but
Sure.
I do know what you mean, and I agree with you that the first one was like straight serious, and this one did have a lot more levity in it.
Yeah. And then this was something that I thought was good too. And I like that they acknowledged this point. Well, two things here. For one, once that battle's over and everyone's back to their respective bases or whatever, and Baron Dark's talking with Doc Cyborn, and Cyborn's just like, yeah, she pulled out this crystal and he turned into some sort of weak, fleshy state. For one, I'm like, dude, that was you 2 episodes ago. Like, you guys were humans not that long ago. That's weird that you don't know what that is.
It's not like it's an unknown, organism.
What is this weak, fleshy state he's become? I don't know. But what I did like was that he pointed out, like, that this makes you, talking to Baron Dark, the most vulnerable of everybody. And he's just like, why? He's like, well, if I get, turned human again, you can just re-skeletonize me. But if you get turned, who's going to do it to you? So essentially, now there's an actual weakness that they didn't have before. And I was just like, dang, okay, that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's great that they pointed that out, because that seems like something that would have been like overlooked, and we would have been like, especially in this show, we would have been like, why wouldn't they just pull his heart out? Because nobody could turn him back, but they already covered that. So they were thinking ahead, which is great, and not something that happens a lot in these shows.
Yeah, it feels like something that you and I would have pointed out as a plot hole.
Exactly.
Like, man, why don't they just get him and just do it? And it's fine. But no, like, they fully recognize that, like, oh, crap, that's bad. This is not good. We also found out that Baron Dark has a skeleton dog named Bad Dog.
Oh, yeah. You have to have like evil pets in there somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm glad there was no like Snarf replacement though. Although Snarf was the most powerful of the Thundercats, I use him only as an example of a wacky side character that the heroes have. I don't think they had any wacky side characters.
No, I don't think so.
So we get the closeout with the Golden Skull talking about peace being an abstract thing, and whether or not, well, actually, what's his name? Ferris does come back and redeem himself by kind of, because these two skeleton warriors enter the hero base. They could easily have fought them off, but Ferris comes back on this bike he rode off on, shoots them both, then they're treating him like a hero, and then he's like, all right, well, I gotta go again, and that's it. So he kind of redeems himself, or at least shows that his allegiance is to the heroes, the Legion of Light.
Even though he doesn't want to help anybody, but he still did.
Yeah.
But it's because he's afraid, and like, they did establish that it's just the skeletons freak him out. That's the reason. Like, he talked at length about like how horrifying everything was, and that they don't die, they just keep getting back up. So
right, and if you think about it, like, it really does make sense, because this guy was obviously just like a civilian pulled into this war to fight a war he obviously wasn't prepared for, didn't train for, and doesn't want to fight. So it's like, I get his perspective on this.
Yeah, good thing he was wearing his brown pants.
Exactly. So the last episode we watched for today's show was Brawl in Chain, season 1, episode 9. Patreon picked by 80s Power Extreme. So thank you, sir.
Thanks, 80s.
Baron Dark's new juggernaut, the Gorgon battleship, has finished construction. Lightstar and Talon go to the Simigon Kingdom. It says Simigon Kingdom. I think it was the Simeonites Kingdom. Simeonites Kingdom to warn them of the threat. But King Doragon has Dagger and Shriek as diplomats. So
that's true.
So basically, the Simeonite Kingdom is the neutral party in this, and that's really what the episode focuses on, is them trying to convince this neutral party to come over to the side of good. Or at least to help the side of good, where Baron Dark had sent Dagger and Shriek over to get services from them, to get basically fuel from their refinery that they have.
Right. Talon and Lightstar head there because they just need allies. Like, they're like, we've got to convince them to join us to fight on our side because, again, they're losing. They're losing the war. So they need help. They need soldiers. They need supplies. They need reinforcements. They need everything. But yeah, they get there and find that Shriek and Dagger already there. And this is, again, like the show gets sillier every episode, I feel like, because this is by far the goofiest episode yet, because it's a lot of like Dagger and Shriek like pranking other people, like them pulling pranks on Talon and Lightstar, basically to try to get the Simeonites mad at them. Mad at all of them, essentially.
Right, to try to get them all thrown into the dungeon, which at first you're just like, oh, that's kind of dumb. But then when they give their actual reason, you're like, oh, that makes total sense, actually. And that goes back to them being invulnerable or, immortal. And I just thought that was a really smart way to play it. As goofy as this episode was, the premise behind it was interesting.
Yeah, I actually really did like that explanation. I got to say, the dance was so bad when the dance happened. How they're just like, I mean, the legs are doing what I would refer to as the dance. The arms, no, I don't know what that was. They're just flailing their arms around.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's a dance.
It's the king and queen were making me laugh. So the Simeonites are basically ape people, but they do not like being called apes. Interesting that they know what apes are, since this isn't planet Earth. So that's a whole nother can of worms. But like anytime like anyone says the word ape, they get like very upset and do not want to be labeled as such. But the king is just basically like saying, okay, I'm neutral. I'm not siding with anybody. We're going to have a party tonight. Everybody's going to join, which is where that dance happens. And that's where a funny scene happens with Justin. I can't remember his hero name. So Justin.
Lightstar, Prince Lightstar.
Yeah, Prince Lightstar. That's what it is. Okay, so with Prince Lightstar, where he's eating food and the queen comes over and starts like picking through his hair to get bugs out. And he jumps and drops the food on the ground, doesn't bother picking it up, but then just goes into a really serious conversation about how like it reminds him of the parties his parents used to have. That food's just still sitting there on the ground. I guess he's just waiting for a servant to pick it up.
Yeah, just the idea that she's picking bugs out of his hair was cracking me up. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's these like obvious apes that do not want to be called apes.
Yeah, and like she kind of was hitting on him a lot too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, which is kind of part of the course for this dude, because like eventually Shriek is able to manipulate the situation a little bit, like trips Talon, who spills food on her and the king and the queen. And then Shriek's like, she tried to attack me, and immediately shoots at her. It turns into a fight. And then when dust settles and stuff, they all start arguing. Shriek calls the king an ape who gets mad. Well,
Shriek is like, she does it in a way that I think she's imitating Jennifer. And so the king thinks that Jennifer is the one who said it. And he's just like, all right, it doesn't matter anymore. You're all going to the dungeon. Yeah. That's kind of what like really tips the point over.
Yeah, gets everybody into the dungeon, all four of them. While they're down there, though, so like Shriek starts hitting on Justin like big time. And I was like, oh, he's going to shrug it off. But no, I was like, whoa, what? Justin's just all about it. He's just like, hey, yeah, I do get pretty lonely just hanging out with my sister all the time. Come here. And like they start making out. And I was like, no!
They legitimately kiss. So he's basically just kissing the teeth of this skeleton skull. Yeah.
God.
But all in a ploy to pull her heartstone out, which I didn't even see coming. I should have, but I was like, oh, that's really smart, actually. So he obviously close enough to her where he pulls her heartstone out and crushes it. So she's forced to turn back human. And then they do the same to Dagger. And
without making out with him.
Without making out with him, yeah.
Yeah.
And the reason this is important...
I would have liked to have seen it, though.
I know, if Justin had just kissed them both.
I think that would have been fantastic.
That would have been great. But the reason it's important is because, like we were referencing earlier, the reason they wanted them in the dungeon in the first place is because Baron Dark is finishing his Gorgon battleship, which they're very frightened of. The heroes are very frightened of this being finished because it can destroy anything. Like, it's a giant destroyer ship. and it's going to come and destroy the Simeonite base so that they can take over the refinery and whatever, take over the land. And it doesn't matter if they get destroyed if they get caught in a crossfire of that destruction caused by the ship, because they're skeletons and they can reform. So now that they're human, they're actually legitimately scared and like, oh man, like we weren't ready to be turned back human for this. Like we got you down here because you were going to die and we weren't. But now that we all might die, we kind of have to form a pact just to get out of this.
Yep, exactly. And I was like, man, that was such clever writing, to be honest, like way more than I was ready to give this credit for.
Exactly.
Now, one thing that I do want to just kind of wag my finger at a little bit and just say, but though granted, this was a show made for children, as dark as it sounds. So obviously they wouldn't have done this. But what I was going to say is Dagger's head was not attached to his body when they pulled the Heartstone out. So in my mind, I was like, oh, he's going to become human and he's decapitated. Like he's just going to be dead. But no, like they pulled the thing off and then his skeleton waited to reform before he turned human. But part of me wanted to be like, no, man, like the rules of the land should decree such that he just becomes human without a head and he's now dead.
Yeah,
but whatever.
If it weren't a kid's show, then that I could definitely see that happening, because I thought the same thing. I was like, whoa, what's gonna happen? But no, they just reform then transform back. That's fine.
Yeah, it's cheap, but that's fine. So yeah, they basically concoct a plan for the four of them to escape from the dungeon, which they do. And then they get to like a kind of a communication center. And once they do that, of course, then Shriek and Dagger, betray them again. But they spill like the beans on, next step in the plan and stuff, kind of like talking about like what Baron, Dark, and Cyborn are going to do. And the king and queen are up there above them, swinging through the trees or whatever. No, like on a platform, and heard it. And they drop down and finally become allies of Lightstar and Talon. So
yeah, and the king is very quick to offer up destroying his fuel refinery to blow up the Gorgon ship.
That was weird to me. Yeah.
Yeah, he just did not care. He's like, yeah, we can rebuild it. It's fine.
Yeah, and this is the weird thing to me. Okay, so on the flip side of all this stuff, you mentioned the Gorgon ship, which is this huge battleship that's flying through. And one of the big things that they're worried about is the ion like repulsor shield that it's got. So it's this shield that basically is almost impenetrable, but Grimskull and Guardian snuck aboard and their plan was to disable the shield so that they could then attack the ship. And so, things ensue. They do it. They manage to disable the thing. They get out of there. And then Justin or Prince Lightstar or whatever gets on like his own little flying thing and comes after it. He's got this big old missile. And I'm just thinking, well, why doesn't, now that the shields are down, just shoot the ship? Instead, he blows up the refinery that the ship is flying over.
Yes, still.
And then that blows up the ship. And I'm like, but why blow up both? Why not just destroy the one thing that you need to destroy?
I do want to give credit to the writing team again, or whoever came up with the idea of it, because Grimskull, when he and Guardian are trapped on the ship, he's like, well, I'll just shadow walk out of here. It's fine. And Guardian has to tell him, like, dude, no, like if you do that, you can't do that through the ion shield because then you'll get disintegrated. So it's like, again, thinking ahead of something so we don't point it out later, because it's like we would have just said like, oh, why didn't you just shadow walk out of it? But that's why, because he would have been disintegrated.
And then like Guardian should have been like, what, you're just going to leave me here? Thanks a lot, nephew. You piece of crap. But yeah, like later on, one of them was kind of like, I still can't believe you had me blow up your refinery. And the king's like, refineries can be rebuilt. Lives cannot.
Yeah. So that was actually a good closeout to that kind of goofy episode.
Yeah.
And now like they're fully for forming an alliance with the Legion of Light, because working together with others is something that they're interested in acquiring now, according to the queen. That's when Dagger and Shriek in their human form refine Baron, and they want to be turned back into skeleton warriors. But first he wants to torture them. But by torturing them, he just picks them up and just starts like banging their heads together. So a really kind of Three Stooges kind of gag.
Like, we're going zany now.
Yeah.
Whee!
And so, yeah, Golden Skull closes us out by saying, like, can anyone truly remain neutral in a battle between darkness and light? And then challenges us. He's like, can you?
Can you?
Yeah, that's where it closes out. Well, Chris, looks like it's about time we send our kids to the planet Luminaire to help the Legion of Light. Oh, who am I kidding? To become their true evil skeletal forms and serve Baron Dark. Then see what they thought of the show Skeleton Warriors.
This show is wild! Skeletons and laser guns and superpowers and hover bikes. What's not to love? Now, if only I could become a skeleton and become immortal!
A show about an undead army of skeletons trying to make more skeletons to fight against an army partly led by a zombie? That's so metal! Justin, Joshua, Jennifer, I respect your cause, but the other army's just way cooler. Baron Dark, please release me from my flesh prison!
Oh boy. Yeah, you know what? Let's get rid of these fleshy, weak bodies.
Yeah, if I can become an immortal skeleton instead, why wouldn't I?
I would never get a concussion again, you know? If like all my head would just fall off and then reform.
You would never have to worry about skincare products.
Oh, that's true, man. Never have to worry about getting paper cuts. Think how nice that would be.
Oh man, the dream.
I love that. I love that idea. What are some of the things that you liked about this show?
First off, I really like that the show is literally named after the antagonist, like we were touching on earlier. Like, when do you ever see that? That would be like the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog being the Adventures of Dr. Robotnik the Human.
Yeah, that's really cool. Like, I can't think of another show that's done that. There might be some out there, but I can't think of any.
Yeah, I couldn't think of any. I was really trying to too, but it's like Goof Troop being called Pete's Pack, or Ghostbuster just being called Ghost. Like, it just doesn't, you don't see it. So the only exception I would see is if the villains or the antagonists or the villainous characters were the main characters of the show, but that's not the case here. They're not even the leads. And so it's cool that the show is actually named after the actual antagonist. So really interesting. And it's small, but definitely something that surprised me. So I came in expecting, like you said, the main crew to be Skeleton Warriors, but it's just way catchier than Legion of Light. So it makes sense that they left that name.
Legion of Light is really weak. I don't like that name.
No, that sounds like a weird cult.
It's so boring.
Yeah, the idea of these unkillable skeletal enemies that can reform from any injury is actually pretty genius. Again, like you were touching on, where it's like the Ninja Turtles and the Foot Clan robots, like you said. And it just gives the heroes an endless amount of fodder to destroy in all sorts of creative ways without ever being contested by the ratings board. So it's a very smart way to pull this off. And plus, it just makes the enemies much more of a legitimate threat when they literally can't die, especially since Baron Dark could continue infinitely increasing his indestructible ranks while reducing the amount of allies that the very vulnerable heroes can recruit. So it's almost like the more of them that get lost, the more his army grows and the less they can actually recruit. So that's just such an interesting and frightening concept, really.
Yeah.
So maybe it was good that they played it down a little bit, or played the seriousness down a little bit, because otherwise it's very grim, as much as I can appreciate that. And lastly, like, I wanted to talk about Josh for a second. Like, even though he started as a pretty annoying character, very bratty, I did really dig his shadow walking powers, and the fact that those great powers were handicapped by always being at risk of being taken over or tracked by Baron Dark. And that really made him one of the more interesting and layered protagonists here. The other protagonist I didn't care as much about, but his was just a really kind of in-between spot of being like really powerful, but also being incredibly vulnerable.
Yeah, I can agree with that too. I think he was at least the most interesting out of all of them. Like as far as like the power sets go, his powers were awesome. The shadow melding was great, and they used it really well. It was such a cool power to have, and a power that you don't see used often, whereas shooting lasers and flight all the time, you know, but like moving through shadows, not a super common power to see in anything. So I like that. They used it extremely well, and giving him that handicap too, I think was a smart move so that he isn't super overpowered, because it's like as powerful as he could get that shadow walking, he can't go up against the big threat. So I think that was a smart way to play it. But yeah, I think he is kind of annoying because he is just so like, dude, what about me? What about Raven? That was for any of you wrestling fans out there.
Exactly.
But to be fair though, like the other two characters, his siblings, are so cookie cutter though, as far as their personalities. Like I don't know, like I think even that, with that said, like he stands out way more than the other two, even if he does get annoying at times. Like I think his character was way more well-rounded regardless.
Yeah, just because he just has more layers to him, and the others were just so like you said, cookie cutter, and they couldn't be turned into the dark side because they're just too pure. But that made them also very boring.
Exactly. It's just kind of like, you know, that, you know, the prince is just going to be the somewhat hot-headed leader who's going to be really stern at all times. And yeah, he doesn't deviate from that. And Talon, the sister, is going to be the bleeding heart, you know, support for everybody, regardless of who you are. You know, she's going to be the glue.
Yeah, she can fix and change anybody in her eyes.
I can fix him, Dad. And the thing is, you see those kind of archetype characters in everything. So without adding any other nuance to it, it does get really boring. So I do think that the good guy characters in this were pretty boring. Aside from Grimskull, I think Guardian was okay. Guardian reminded me a little bit of like Man at Arms, but with a little bit more attitude to him, which was kind of fun.
Yeah.
Like he was very much like, hey, you guys don't know what you're doing, like shut up and watch me. Or, you know, like he didn't take crap from even the prince. Like if the prince wasn't doing something right, he'd be like, you know, what are you doing? Come on. Like,
right. He wasn't a yes man at all.
Right. And I did enjoy that aspect of it. I kind of wish he had more screen time, which he didn't get much of it, but I think he would have been more interesting to follow. The big thing that I do love about this show and want to say is just the premise in itself, how over the top it is. It's like the most 80s idea ever, but created in the 90s. Just the idea of this futuristic world where people get turned into skeletons that can't die, but battle with laser swords and laser cannons on hover bikes with technology and all kinds of, it's ridiculous. And I think it's just so fun. It isn't like an 80s fever dream.
Yeah.
It sounds like something you would see in heavy metal or something.
Exactly.
So it's great.
What were some of the things you disliked about the show?
Boy. Well, I one thing I touched on earlier, I don't think they did a super great job of the voice acting in this. I think it was hit or miss. Baron Dark was by far the standout of the entire show. That performance was so good. He was so just on top of it. He steals every scene that he's in. His delivery is great, and nobody else came close to touching him. And I think that that's kind of a shame, because some of the other, you know, voice actors in this are fantastic. Some of them are some of the most renowned voice actors that there are, but still everything felt so monotone, so dry in delivery from some of them, that I don't think a lot of them were allowed to just really go for it or bring out personality in their characters, or they just weren't given enough to, like, they didn't get supplied with enough emotion or personality for these characters, I think. So I think that definitely may have hindered, you know, what this could have been. But yeah, Baron Dark, I think it really made this cartoon what it is, and was the best part of it. And the other big dislike of mine was some of the character designs and the animation. For the most part, I like the character designs, but the amount of just random, I don't know, like pockets and visors and things, it definitely reminded me of when like Rob Liefeld went crazy in like X-Men and stuff and just added pouches to everything. Like it kind of suffered from that a little bit of like everything had a button and like these random lines because there's compartments like on all these uniforms, and it was just, there was so much. I think it could have used a little simplicity, and I think some of it shows because some of the animation, there was a lot of mistakes in the animation. There was so many times where like things did not look right, like arms would disappear or just all of a sudden would not be aligned with the torso anymore. There's also this real blatant part at the beginning of the second episode where we watched where you hear Justin yelling at somebody and his mouth doesn't move whatsoever. And it's like, you're seeing his face front and center, and he says something. The person on the radio he's talking to replies. Then Justin replies to him to like, get out of there and retreat. But Justin's mouth doesn't move at all. It's just him, just straight faced, staring ahead while he's like, get out of there, like retreat now. And it's like, oh, guys, come on, like get it together.
Yeah, for me, I wasn't focused as much on the animation because, I kind of have to forgive these shows sometimes. But really, like, to your earlier point, it does feel more like an 80s cartoon than a 90s one. And maybe that's why I was that forgiving on the animation mistakes, because you see it a lot more in the 80s animation. But for my primary dislikes, I think there was sort of a tonal imbalance to the show that we've been talking about throughout. For the most part, it kept it pretty serious. But when it did throw in some comedy for levity's sake, I don't think it was done gracefully always or intentionally sometimes. So I think they should have just stuck to Dagger being the comedic character and left it at that, because he was legitimately funny sometimes, but nobody else needed to be. And so it kind of felt forced. Instead, when the others throw in quips, it just it felt wrong. And I imagine them like being on stage and on an improv stage and just bombing, because it's like, no, like you're not a funny character. Why are you trying to throw a joke out? And it leaves me very torn on how I feel about that last episode, especially because it's like, I like the idea of the Simeonites like playing a neutral party that both sides are working to get something from, but they made them so goofy that it was really hard to take them serious, and it really underplays their whole presence in the war. So that's just such a sharp shift from the first episode to the last one that we actually watched. Tone-wise, it felt very imbalanced. And I get that the show's for kids, so maybe they weren't comfortable keeping it super dark, but Gargoyles came out that same year, and that was pretty dark all the way through. And Batman the Animated Series came out 2 years earlier to great success, so it might not have been such a bad idea to just leave it very serious and just work on some of the writing instead. And my other dislike, though, was that while I did love Oracula visually, having Donald Duck's voice was just like, like, why would you do that to this cool character? Because he's easily the coolest looking villain to me. And because he's Spider Dracula, basically, a spider vampire. And you just can't take him seriously because every time he talked, it just sounded like Donald yelling. And it's like, oh, man. Like, your character is completely like, you're a throwaway character now when you could have been a legitimate threat.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you on those things. I really like that you brought up things like Batman the Animated Series and Gargoyles. And I think that this will kind of show the quality of animation when you look at those. Like you think about those and think about like how crisp and clean those shows were, and then look at this and like, as an example, this came out after Batman the Animated Series, right? And it's like, man, this looks like it came out 10 years before it in quality. And so I think that gives a little bit of like credence to like, whether it's budget things or not, it didn't get the same kind of treatment. It didn't get the same kind of care that it should have had, I think. And so you ended up with a product that, you know, visually looks subpar to other things that were being released at the time. And also, you know, lapses in tone, like you were bringing up. Maybe different writers had different says and different things because, yeah, it started out as something that seemed like it was going to be super grimdark. And we would get these episodes with these moments of lingering dread of like, this is a war that's impossible to win. And we're following this group of these displaced siblings as they continue losing this war and try to scrape by. But, oh, look, he's got a skeleton dog named Bad Dog. It's just like, man, that doesn't, it just doesn't make sense. Just throw some of those things in there from time to time. And yeah, I think you're right. It felt weird. It felt odd. And I do think that the end product suffers a little bit because of that.
So what would you give the show overall?
I mean, it's got its flaws like we talked about, but it is still pretty fun in just how ridiculous the premise is and how it leans into trying to be real dark and cool as possible while still hitting all these like 80s and 90s action cartoon tropes. And in all honesty, I would have loved for it to lean heavier into the more ridiculous aspects of the show and maybe not take itself so seriously. Like, I guess more or less pick a tone and stick with it. If it was going to stay grimdark, fine. Or if it was just going to stay over the top and be just so ridiculous that it's funny, then go that route, but not do like the goofy slapstick jokes. I think I'd love to have seen it just lean into the so over the top and ridiculous it makes you chuckle, because that was the stuff that made it enjoyable for me, is just how insane the whole idea was. But as it is, I give Skeleton Warriors 3.5 bowls of weak fleshy cereal out of 5.
This show has been in my periphery for the longest time, but I just never got the opportunity or just never got around to watching it, which after seeing it now is really disappointing because I know how much a younger me would have enjoyed this cartoon, probably even more so than I did watching it now. And I would have loved collecting those cool toys because I did check them out and they looked really cool, especially for the time, because they were done by Playmates, the people who did the Ninja Turtle toys. So the quality was there. The show's over the top cheesy and it falls prey to a lot of like 90s or 80s action cartoon tropes, but it was still really fun to watch. And the core idea and presentation was strong enough that they let me forgive most of its flaws. So overall, I'd give Skeleton Warriors 4 big bowls of skeletons drinking out of a Skull Cup cereal out of 5. And this is definitely a cool show I'd love to see rebooted in some fashion.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of potential there to see something like that for sure. I would also love to see that.
Yeah, and I think, like, to your point again of like choosing a tone, it just would need to do that, whether it becomes like kind of a show with more levity or a show with no levity. Like, it needs to choose one side because it suffered a lot because of the kind of trying to flip between the two in this case.
Yeah, I really love the idea of maybe leaning into that. I mentioned heavy metal earlier as sort of like a reference point. I honestly kind of like the idea of it leaning into something like that, which is so over the top gnarly that it is hilarious at times, but they're not making jokes. It's just because it's so insane and crazy.
And I'm also kind of thinking of, Evil Dead Army of Darkness kind of vibes too, since it is Skeleton Warriors. So it's like, have it be a little goofier, have one of the protagonists be a little bit more jokey, because the protagonists are all pretty serious. And so maybe that's part of the imbalance too, is that Dagger was the only one who was meant to be funny, and he was, but the other ones, like, it just never felt right when they would say something funny. Baron Dark, he could get away with it because he was so commanding of all the scenes he was in. But everybody else was just like, meh, you could just have a show with Baron Dark and Dagger, and I would have enjoyed it still.
Yeah, I would watch that for sure.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, don't forget to check out the new spooky season merch at the store with designs like the Ghost Critic, Cult of the Sloth, and our Zombie Sloth designs. All of those can be found by heading to nerdsloth.com and clicking on store. The Zombie Sloth merch is exclusive to this month of October, so make sure you grab that one while you can. Big thank you to designers Lick and Isa, who helped with the other designs for our October vibes for the month. So make sure you go check out their work. And big thank you once again to them. And thank you to you for if you buy it and help us out.
And thank you, Ben Grimm 1 and 80s Power Extreme, for suggesting this. This was a great show that I wish I had watched sooner.
Yeah, this was super, super fun. And now, like, I've got to look up the toys, especially knowing that they were made by Playmates. Like, I'm super interested to see what those looked like, and then try really hard not to buy any off of eBay.
If anything, I'm going to find an Oracula toy and I'm going to get it, because that is the coolest looking one.
Very cool.
Yes. Well, listeners, looks like our milk supply is now run dry, so it's time for us to say goodbye. And next week, for the third episode of our OCTOONBER celebration, we'll be watching
Godzilla 1998. Suggested via YouTube by Christopher V, David B, and Mitchell B.
Oh, man, that's a lot of suggestions for that particular Godzilla cartoon. Maybe it's better than the movie was?
I think anything has to be better than the movie was.
Because this is American Godzilla, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen stills of that, or maybe even some scenes of it, and the cartoon doesn't look bad, so maybe it's not. I don't know. We'll find out.
The animation looks very similar to the that Men in Black animated series.
Totally. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It might have been the same company or production studios or whatever.
And I like that style of animation, so that's fine. It's just
I do too.
We'll see how the story actually holds up.
Yeah, I'm interested.
But once again, I'm Joseph.
And I'm Chris.
We'll see you next Saturday.
Presented by Nerdsloth.
A place for lazy nerds.
If you like what you heard, consider donating at patreon.com/nerdsloth so we can continue bringing you quality shows. Be sure to also leave us a review and share your favorite episodes and clips on social media. If you're looking for more content, visit us at nerdsloth.com.